Earlier this week, Dominique, Haiti's most prominent radio journalist, was shot to death by two gunmen outside his station in Port-au-Prince. His death comes amid rising tensions and protest over President Préval's failure to hold elections there. During his four-decade career, Dominique was a leading figure in the struggle for human rights in Haiti. In the early 1960s, he found Radio Haiti Inter. While virtually all Haitian media acted as propaganda machines for the government, his broadcast served as a voice for the people. In a radio editorial last October, he said, quote, "The only weapon I have is my journalist profession, my microphone, and my unspeakable faith as a militant for change, veritable change." Joining me today is film director and friend of Dominique, Jonathan Demme. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for paying tribute to Jean.
He was on this broadcast, and before we see just an excerpt from that, because there is, I think, a commonality for all journalists, and especially those who die, doing and are killed in some sense of a struggle to do what it is they most want to do, which is try to bring some truth and some sense of reality to the politics and the culture that they cover. Tell me what you knew about him and what kind of journalist he was.
Well, I know that that Jean was, when I first went to Haiti to make a documentary about the democracy movement in the late 80s, everybody said the first place you have to go is Radio Haiti, because Jean Dominique, in many ways, is the father of this new surge for democracy, and in many ways was responsible for creating the movement via his editorials on the air that uprooted Baby Doc Duvalier and forced him to leave the country. Jean was the first person to bring the Creole language, which is the language of the people, to the airwaves in Haiti. Prior to that, it had been French only, the language of the elite. It was very bold of him to do so. He had to do it little by little. He was the first person to send reporters into voodoo temples, voodoo being the oft-maligned, in fact, quite honorable religion. The old African religion is practiced in Haiti. And he brought voodoo music and voodoo ceremonies to the airwaves, the people's religion, the people's language. And he often talked about how, by broadcasting in Creole, news about, for example, the uprisings against Somoza in Nicaragua, in broadcasting about the Shah of Iran, for the first time, the Haitian peasants who had been kept down for time immemorial by the oligarchy that ran Haiti and the military, for the first time they were able to see themselves in a global context and learn from the actions of other peoples pushing for democracy in other parts of the world. And it's had an extraordinary impact.
Yeah. Do we know what happened? I mean, do we know who did it? Do we know why?
No, no one knows who did it. Jean was so outspoken. He spoke the truth. And in some sector or another, that cost him his life. The thought I keep having is that there were thousands of fingers on the trigger. Whoever the gunman was, I feel, was almost irrelevant. Jean, in his courageous pushing for democracy on the airwaves, exposing his ideals every day, providing a voice for the aspirations of the Haitian people, not aligned with any political party, not aligned with any political movement, matching up idea-wise sometimes, but always speaking from the heart. He had many, many enemies. And I feel that, I think that America is partially responsible for the death of Jean Dominique, because when we sent troops in to return President Aristide to power, and we sent our troops in to uphold democracy, as the mission was called. We failed.
But you supported all of that, didn't you?
Yes. Well, I certainly supported a push to remove the terrible tyrants who were killing the Haitian people from power. Yes. And I had high hopes for the American mission in Haiti, but we failed miserably when it came to establishing a judicial system, because in tearing down all the institutions that existed for the bad guys, we didn't rebuild anything. We stood back and we empowered the anti-democracy forces, with the idea being that you have to have an opposition party, and because the overwhelming, vastly overwhelming population of Haiti were behind President Aristide, who was the symbol of democracy, we went ahead and sort of, instead of ceding to it, a judicial system went into effect that would punish the people who created the coup. Instead, we empowered them and tried to turn them into a legitimate political party. And we just failed terribly down there.
But the question is, in a sense, is it our responsibility, is it the American responsibility to build those institutions? I mean, is the criticism you have, I mean, and part of the turmoil that exists today, that the United States, once it went in and once it was behind free elections, should have done more to make sure that those institutions that ensure and serve freedom were there, or was that the responsibility of the Haitian people to do once they had a free election?
You know, Charlie, the military figures that overthrew President Aristide in a bloody massacre that lasted for 3 or 4 years, these very generals who overthrew it were trained here in the United States. They were on the payroll of the CIA. The CIA was always outspokenly against Aristide. They felt that his efforts to create a minimum wage for the Haitian workers who were working for virtual slave prices for American manufacturers was going to really hurt things for our kind of Caribbean Basin initiative down there, trying to create a really docile, grateful workforce throughout the Caribbean willing to work for nothing. Here comes Aristide, who's trying to get minimum wage, trying to get bathrooms for employees, trying to get a lunch break. These things were anathema to the U.S. business interests and the CIA. So I think it's come to be fairly well accepted that the CIA was very instrumental in that coup. So yeah, I do think America had a responsibility to help restore.
But after the coup, they restored.
Well, they put President Aristide back in office.
Right.
And they then went ahead again and sort of empowered the very people who were who fermented the coup in the first place. Not the generals who went into exile very comfortably on U.S. planes, but rather
that was in our interest to do that, to get them out of the country, wasn't
Yes, I agree. I agree. Somehow symbolically, you know, there's kind of a dimension to it. But you know, it's this whole notion about you know, we're not in the nation-building business. Well, when our operatives help topple a democratically elected government in a country that then is just a land of horror so great that we see hundreds of thousands of people fleeing, trying to get to our shores for safety, I do think we have a responsibility to go in there and help restore democracy, not just put a president back with a promise that he will be nice and grateful to America and tie his hands in many, many ways by getting him to sign onerous agreements about what he is willing to do and not do, getting him to agree that he will privatize all the state-owned industries there and sell them off to foreign interests, that he will sign on to onerous IMF huge loans and indenture his country even deeper than it already was. I do think we have a responsibility, and we certainly had a responsibility to help create a functioning judicial system that would help create a rule of law in the land, because without a rule of law, you ain't never going to have democracy. And Dominique died at the hands of a gunman in a country that is absent a rule of law.
Roll tape. Here is a clip from an interview September 15th, 1994, on this program with Dominique. Here it is.
But there is 6 million Haitians ready to work, ready to build what you have built in 200 years, ready to build a society coming from poverty to misery, indignity.
Well, then do those 6 million Haitians welcome the presence of American troops
sure
in order?
They will welcome deeply what is happening now all over the world. Freedom, justice, participation.
Bring back memories to see that?
Yeah, very much so. You know, we've been talking about what a great world-class freedom fighter, using the microphone as a weapon, Jean was. He was also such a great guy, Charlie. Just an extraordinary, incredibly charming, brilliant guy who loved humanity. And to think that he went down on the steps of his radio station, marching in to give his that day's version of the truth as he saw it, is both, you know, terribly saddening to me, and also, in a way, I think it's, you know, a great salute. As we've said here, John died with his boots on.
Jonathan Demme, thank you for coming to remember Dominique.
Thank you so much,
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Dominique died as Jonathan Demme so eloquently said, as he went in to do what he did best, which was to broadcast the truth as he saw it. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.